Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here today. We gather in this moment with a simple truth to explore, that our lives are shaped not by the circumstances around us, but by the choices we make every single day. The power to change, to grow, and to transform lies within the decisions we make in how we focus our energy, how we assign meaning to our experiences, and most importantly, in the actions we take. Today, I want to remind you that the life you desire, the future you dream of, and the person you are becoming all start with one powerful choice. It's not about waiting for the perfect moment. It's about making the moment perfect by deciding to take charge of your journey. Let's dive in. Every moment of our lives, we are focusing on something. Whether consciously or unconsciously, our attention is always directed somewhere, and what we focus on determines how we feel, what we believe, and ultimately, how we behave. Focus is not just a mental act, it is an emotional trigger. It is the lens through which we interpret life, and depending on where we aim that lens, we either empower ourselves or limit ourselves. Think about it. Two people can experience the same event: losing a job, ending a relationship, facing rejection, and walk away with completely different emotions. Why? Because they focused on different aspects of the experience. One might zero in on the loss, the humiliation, the fear of what comes next. The other might focus on the opportunity, the freedom, or the lesson. The event doesn't determine their emotional state, their focus does. Focus has the power to magnify. Whatever you consistently place your attention on, you intensify. If you constantly focus on problems, your mind gets better at finding more problems. If you obsess over what's missing, you'll feel empty. But if you train yourself to focus on what you have, what's working, and what's possible, you create momentum, you build resilience, you generate strength, your energy begins to align with solutions instead of struggle. Your emotional state, whether you feel joy, gratitude, fear, or frustration, is directly linked to what you're choosing to focus on in that moment. That's why two people living in the same circumstances can live entirely different emotional lives. One lives in a state of stress because they're always focused on what could go wrong. The other lives in a state of peace because they focus on what they can control and what they can be grateful for. Focus is the switch that activates our emotional response. Most people don't consciously choose what to focus on. They let life, media, or their past programming decide for them. But if you want to master your life, you must learn to master your focus. That means being intentional, choosing each day to direct your thoughts toward what empowers you. It means catching yourself when your focus drifts toward fear or negativity, and shifting it deliberately toward hope and possibility. There's also the focus on the past, present, or future. Some people live in the past, constantly replaying pain, regret, or what went wrong. Others live in the future, anxious about what might happen or paralyzed by uncertainty. But power lives in the present. When you focus on the now, what you can do, what you can influence, who you can become, you reclaim your energy. You stop leaking power into things you can't change and start building strength in the moment you're in. Training your focus isn't about ignoring reality. It's about choosing where to place your mental and emotional energy so you can create the best possible outcome. Even in adversity, there's something you can focus on that builds you instead of breaks you. You can focus on your breath, on your next move, on the meaning you choose to assign, on the lesson you're learning. Focus isn't passive, it's an active force, it's a skill, and like any skill, the more you practice it, the more powerful you become. If you want to feel stronger, more centered, more alive, shift your focus. Place it on what expands you. Focus on growth, on gratitude, on grace, because what you focus on is what you feel, and what you feel, you act on. And how you act shapes the results you get. Focus is the root, energy is the result, emotion is the byproduct. You are one focus shift away from changing everything. Every experience you have, every situation you face, carries with it no automatic meaning. Events in life are neutral until you assign meaning to them. That meaning is not determined by the event itself, it's created by you. And that meaning becomes the story you tell yourself, the lens through which you see the world, and ultimately the reality you live in. Two people can go through the exact same moment and walk away with entirely different takeaways, emotions, and directions in life. The difference isn't what happened, it's the meaning they gave it. Meaning is powerful because it becomes the emotional framework that drives your decisions, your confidence, and your sense of identity. If something painful happens and you decide it means you're not good enough, that meaning gets wired into your internal story. You start showing up in the world with hesitation, doubt, and fear of failure. On the other hand, if you go through the same pain and assign it the meaning that you're being prepared for something greater, you walk away with fire, with purpose, and with growth. The event stays the same, but your story changes. And when your story changes, so does your life. Your brain is constantly trying to interpret what happens to you. It's searching for patterns, assigning explanations, and trying to make sense of it all. But the brain doesn't care whether the story it creates is empowering or disempowering, it just wants to make meaning. That's why you have to take control of that process. If you don't decide the meaning, your mind will do it for you, and it will often default to fear, self-doubt, or limitation based on past experiences and emotional habits. When you shift the meaning, you shift the emotional state attached to the event. And that emotional state becomes the foundation for your actions. If you tell yourself that failure means you're doomed, you stop trying. But if you tell yourself that failure means you're learning, you're growing, and you're getting stronger, you try again and with more determination. That small shift in meaning creates a massive shift in behavior, which leads to completely different outcomes. Even simple moments are shaped by meaning. A delay in traffic can mean the universe is against me, or it can mean this is a chance to slow down and reset. A breakup can mean I'm unlovable, or it can mean I'm being released to find something more aligned. One leads to suffering, the other leads to strength. The power to choose that meaning is always yours, and in that power is your ability to rewrite your internal story. The stories we tell ourselves every day about who we are, what we're capable of, what the world is like are built entirely on meaning, and those stories either limit us or lead us. You can tell yourself the story of a victim or the story of a fighter. You can believe life is hard and unfair, or that it is challenging you to rise higher. Once you realize that meaning is not fixed, you can reclaim authorship over your own narrative. This isn't about lying to yourself. It's about choosing meanings that serve you, rather than ones that sabotage you. You don't get to control everything that happens, but you do get to control what it means to you. And that one decision changes how you feel, how you act, and who you become. The moment you take control of the meaning you give to life's events is the moment you begin to take control of your life itself. Because your story is your reality, and you are the one writing it. Intention is powerful. It sets the direction, it stirs the heart, and it creates clarity about what we want. But by itself, intention changes nothing. You can dream about a better life, plan for a breakthrough, and visualize success all day long, but without action, those desires remain ideas trapped in your mind. Action is the bridge. It is the force that takes an invisible thought and brings it into physical reality. Transformation, the real change we seek in our lives, only happens when action is taken consistently and deliberately. Many people have powerful intentions. They intend to change their health, rebuild their relationships, start a business, write the book, become more confident, or finally pursue their purpose, but they wait. They wait for the perfect time, the right mood, the right level of motivation. And as they wait, time passes, opportunities fade, and frustration grows. Why? Because intention without action leads to stagnation. It creates a growing gap between where you are and where you want to be, and the longer you wait, the heavier that gap becomes. Action, even in small steps, begins to collapse that gap. It converts desire into direction. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be big. It just has to move you forward, because every time you act, you build momentum, and momentum is the fuel of transformation. Once you start moving, your energy shifts. Your confidence grows. You prove to yourself that change is possible not because you said it, but because you did something about it. This is where so many people get stuck. They confuse learning with doing. They consume information, listen to motivational talks, read books, and get fired up, but they don't implement. They feel inspired, but they don't move, and nothing changes until movement begins. Real transformation doesn't come from what you know. It comes from what you apply. It comes from what you're willing to risk, what you're willing to start, and what you're willing to push through. Sometimes the first step is the hardest because it forces you to leave the safety of the familiar. But action doesn't require full confidence, it only requires a moment of courage, the courage to try, the courage to get uncomfortable, the courage to move even with uncertainty, and as you move, clarity begins to form. You learn more in motion than in thought. Action teaches what theory cannot. There's a kind of power that only reveals itself after you've acted. That power doesn't come from motivation, it comes from motion. From doing the thing, not just thinking about it. Every breakthrough you've ever dreamed of is waiting on the other side of action. It's not locked behind talent or luck or timing, it's waiting for you to cross the bridge. You build that bridge with every decision you make, every step you take, every time you show up when it's hard. You don't have to have it all figured out to act. You just need to take the next step. Action creates clarity. It builds confidence, and it tells your mind and your body, this is real. I'm not just wishing anymore, I'm doing. That's the moment transformation begins, not in the comfort of intention, but in the fire of execution. When you stop just thinking about change and start being the change, because no matter how strong your intention is, only action has the power to build a new reality. Life is constantly presenting us with challenges, opportunities, and unexpected turns. Some people grow up in pain, others in privilege, some face loss while others find love. But what truly shapes the direction of a person's life isn't the circumstances they're given, it's the decisions they make in response to those circumstances. Every single day, you are making decisions that move your life forward, keep it stagnant, or pull it backward. These decisions, what to believe, how to respond, what to focus on, and what to do, define the life you live far more than anything that happens around you. Circumstances may influence the options in front of you, but they don't control what you choose. You can be born into struggle and still choose determination. You can face heartbreak and still choose forgiveness. You can experience failure and still choose to rise. History is full of people who had every reason to give up based on their circumstances, but who chose differently, who decided to shape their story rather than be shaped by it. Those who thrive are not those with perfect lives, but those who make powerful decisions no matter what life throws at them. It's easy to blame circumstances. It's easy to point at the economy, your past, your upbringing, your job, or your health and say, this is why I can't change. But blaming circumstances gives away your power. It turns you into a victim of what you can't control instead of the leader of what you can. Every day you have the power to decide what your story will be, and that power is the great equalizer in life. It doesn't matter where you start. What matters is what you decide to do next. The truth is, every result you've created in your life can be traced back to a series of decisions. Not one big moment, but a series of daily choices. Choices about your attitude, your habits, your focus, and your standards. Do you choose to show up even when you don't feel like it? Do you choose to learn when others would complain? Do you choose to move forward when it's easier to stay still? These choices, repeated over time, shape your destiny. People often think transformation comes from one major turning point, but in reality, it comes from consistent decisions made in ordinary moments. The decision to push one more time, the decision to believe in yourself when doubt creeps in, the decision to keep your integrity when no one's watching. These are not just small acts, they are the building blocks of character and the architects of your future. No one controls the storm, but you control how you sail your ship. You decide whether to retreat, to adjust the sails, or to push through. That decision makes all the difference. While circumstances come and go, the discipline to make strong choices builds a life of strength, purpose, and direction. The world may not always be fair. Things may not always go your way, But your power lies in this truth. Your decisions carry more weight than your conditions. You can't always control what happens to you, but you always control how you respond. That response, that moment of decision, is where your life is shaped. Whether it's how you spend your time, how you treat others, what you choose to believe about yourself, or whether you take responsibility or make excuses, each decision adds a brick to the life you're building. Over time, those bricks become the foundation of who you are. Not your past, not your pain, not your environment, but your decisions. They are the authors of your reality. Real change doesn't wait for the perfect moment. It doesn't come from simply wishing, hoping, or even setting goals. Real change begins the moment you make a powerful decision, a decision so strong, so clear, and so emotionally charged that it shifts your direction in an instant. It's the kind of decision that leaves no room for excuses, no space for retreat, and no tolerance for staying the same. It is the moment when your mind, heart, and body align toward one outcome, and you commit fully. People often believe that change is a slow process, something that takes years to develop. And while progress unfolds over time, the actual shift begins in a single moment, the moment you say, "Enough is enough." It's the point when tolerating the old version of yourself becomes more painful than stepping into the unknown. That decision might not solve everything right away, but it sets a new standard. It draws a line in the sand and declares, "This is who I was, and this is who I choose to be now." A powerful decision carries weight because it closes the door to the old story. It cancels the backup plan. It's not "I'll try" or "I'll see how it goes." It's "I must." It's total commitment. That kind of decision has force behind it. It activates your focus, your creativity, your resilience. It wakes up the part of you that's been waiting to lead, to grow, to break free. And in that moment, the direction of your life begins to pivot. Without a true decision, most people live in a loop. They say they want to change. They talk about what they're going to do. But inside, they haven't decided yet. They're still weighing their comfort against their desire. They're still looking for guarantees. They're still afraid of letting go of old patterns, even if those patterns are painful. But the instant you make a powerful decision, when your desire outweighs your fear, you ignite transformation. That decision may look like walking away from a toxic environment. It may look like stepping into a challenge you've avoided for years. It may be deciding to forgive, to show up differently in your relationships, to take full ownership of your life. Whatever form it takes, that moment reclaims your personal power. It sends a message to yourself that you are no longer available for anything less than your best. Decisions shape destiny, not intentions, not wishes, not emotions. Decisions, every breakthrough you've ever experienced, no matter how big or small, was born from a decision you made. And the most powerful ones are often the ones made when you're tired, scared, or uncertain. Because when you decide under pressure, you don't just change your direction, you change your identity. You become someone who doesn't quit, who doesn't negotiate with fear, who doesn't settle. Change doesn't need a new year, a new month, or a fresh start on the calendar. It only needs a new moment of truth, and that moment is always available. In one powerful decision, you can end a cycle, you can start a new chapter, you can elevate your standards, redefine what's possible, and create a future that reflects your true potential. That decision doesn't require permission from anyone, it only requires courage from within. And once you make it, you will feel it, the shift, the surge, the clarity. That's when change becomes real. Not someday, right now. In the end, your life is not defined by what happens to you, it's defined by what you do with what happens. Every day, you are handed the power to choose what to focus on, what meaning to give, what action to take, and what direction to move in. These aren't small choices, they are the very building blocks of your destiny. You are not a prisoner of your circumstances, you are the author of your story. When you decide to focus on what empowers you instead of what drains you, you ignite a new energy inside. When you choose meaning that lifts you instead of limits you, you rewrite your internal world. When you take bold, consistent action, you build a bridge between who you are and who you're meant to become. And when you make a real, powerful decision, one that aligns with your deepest truth, that's when change doesn't just become possible. It becomes inevitable. So wherever you are in your journey, know this: the power to transform your life has always been inside you. Not someday, not when it's easier, but now. Make the decision, take the step, live the story that reflects the strength, courage, and purpose you were born with. Thank you for listening, and never forget your next decision could change everything.